morning to you. I'm Stephen Graves. We are interrupting programming because Governor Ron DeSantis is holding a press conference on the Treasure Coast in Stewart. Let's listen in.
We're also joined by Carlos Gonzalez, a major investigator, manager for Walgreens. Bob Brewster is going to talk about being a victim of retail theft. We have Senator Harrell and Representatives Overdorf and Snyder that are joining us, and they were instrumental in getting the legislation passed that we're going to sign today. We in Florida have been very clear. We're a law and order state. If you do the crime, you're going to do the time. We care more about protecting public safety and the rights of law-abiding citizens than we do about coddling criminals or making excuses for them. So we've done that in a lot of different ways. We've enacted really strong penalties against people that traffic fentanyl and kill our citizens. When I have had the basis to do so, I've acted to remove state attorneys who are not enforcing the law and putting their citizens at risk. We also put an end to the so-called bail reform movement in Florida, which just recycles criminals and puts them right back on the street. And we've reenacted the death penalty for pedophiles in the state of Florida. So all across, we've seen a commitment to public safety. And of course, we support the people that wear the uniform. Part of that is by giving a bonus. We did 3 years in a row of $1,000 bonuses for every sworn law enforcement officer in the entire state of Florida. We do $5,000 signing bonuses for new recruits into the state of Florida at both the county, municipal, and state level. People know that we have their back. And if you look, that is not the norm, unfortunately, in many jurisdictions across this country. You look at a place like California, they passed Proposition 47. That allows people that commit retail theft to be charged with misdemeanor, even if it had traditionally been a felony. That means they get numerous retail theft offenses. Do they get held accountable? No. They get a slap on the wrist. You look at New York, they eliminated cash bail for many offenses, including offenses for retail theft, so that now you can only get a felony theft charge if you steal more than $1,000 worth of merchandise. Anything less, you get a desk appearance ticket. That has caused people to loot stores and do $999 worth of looting, and then they leave knowing that they're not going to be held accountable. Well, it's not probably surprising that with policies like that, you're seeing retail theft surge in different parts of the United States. In 2022 alone, $112 billion in retail theft. States like New York, $4 billion alone in 2022. New York City has seen shoplifting increase by 63%. Los Angeles up 81%, San Francisco up 24%. Now, that has an impact on you as a consumer because the prices will go up to reflect those stolen goods. That's just basic business. If they're not able to sell those goods, if those are losses, they got to find a way to compensate. So you end up seeing rising prices when you go into the store. It also just has a demoralizing effect on people. When you go in and you want to buy toothpaste, and it's like Fort Knox because it's all under lock and key for basic items. You got to get a clerk to come and open it and all this stuff just to do basic shopping. That is not something that is good for quality of life. And then, of course, if you can have people come in and just steal retail and walk out, that creates a contempt for the rule of law that has a spillover effect in areas far beyond retail theft. And so in Florida, we've actually seen a decline in retail theft over the last 4 years, and we're proud of that. I think it's because a lot of people know this is not the state you want to try that in, but we are seeing issues with retail theft across the country. Nationwide, 88% of retailers have reported that shoplifters are more aggressive and violent now compared to just a few years ago. 49% say they have observed much more violent and aggressive behavior. Why? Because I think these people come in and they have a sense of entitlement that they can take what they want and that they're not going to be held accountable. And so I think the behavior has reflected that. You see stores closing down in different parts of the United States, whether that's Target closing 9 stores in Portland and Seattle, Walmart closing stores in Chicago, Nordstrom closing stores in San Francisco. That is a direct result of the lack of commitment to the rule of law and holding criminals accountable. So we're not going to do that in the state of Florida. We're going to make sure that our retailers are able to sell products, that consumers are able to benefit, and that people are held accountable when they break the law. This theft is not limited, though, to just retail outlets. You also have in an era where people are clicking and ordering online and having packages delivered to their front door, you have a cottage industry of porch piracy, where people will go and steal packages from somebody's front door. And different citizens have responded in different ways. You have cameras, the doorbell cameras, you have all this other stuff, but it's not certainly effective in soft on crime jurisdictions, and it's not something you should have to do in the state of Florida, and so we're not going to put up that either. So today's bills, the bill I'm going to sign, not only cracks down on retail theft, it also cracks down on porch piracy, so that if you order something and they leave it at your front door, you come home from work or you bring your kids home from school, package is going to be there. And if it's not, someone's going to have hell to pay for stealing it. So HB 549 is a great piece of legislation. It is pretty much doing the opposite of what a lot of states like California and New York have done. It believes that we need to increase penalties on those who are committing these acts. So we will raise penalties on people that steal packages from your front porch. They are going to be deterred from doing that with adequate penalties. We're also increasing penalties for the so-called retail theft rings. So if you have 5 or more people, you're going to have enhanced penalties as a result of that, because this is a coordinated effort that you see in some of these jurisdictions. We are also going to make it a second-degree felony if you use social media to solicit others to participate in retail theft, because what you have is these flash mobs that are incited by social media to descend on some stores. And the thing is, the clerks are overwhelmed at that point. It's very hard to keep things in order. And we are going to hold people accountable in a really big way if they're committing retail theft with a firearm, or if they've already had previous convictions for retail theft. You're looking at really, really serious penalties. So I think what we're doing has been successful compared to other jurisdictions. The fact that we've seen a decline, but we also know that we got to do all we can to be able to protect public safety. This bill, cracking down on the porch pirates, cracking down on retail theft rings, making sure people that use social media to incite these flash mobs of retail theft, that all those people are held accountable, and they will be held accountable in the state of Florida. We don't want to see stores go out of business. We don't want to see prices increase, and we certainly don't want to treat every retail establishment as if every item needs to be under a lock and key just so that they're not looted without end. And that will not happen in the state of Florida. You will have toothpaste on the shelf that you can grab, check out, and leave. Imagine that. Isn't that great to be able to do that? So thanks for the legislature for being involved in this piece of legislation. We'll hear from some of the other folks we have, so we'll start with our Attorney General.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. You know, it's not often that I have to encourage a politician to brag a little more about themselves, but please let me do that for this governor. We're here today to talk about an improvement on a retail theft law, and boy, is it going to do great things. But when this governor first got in office, within our first couple of years, we passed a monumental, almost first of its kind legislation to go after organized retail theft that really has been the model for many other states in this nation. It was one of the first of its kind. I think you'll hear a little bit more about that and how over the last few years we have been so successful in Florida. At least for our office, the Office of Attorney General, and our statewide prosecutors, we've prosecuted hundreds with a near perfect conviction rate. And that doesn't even include the state attorneys who are working very hard across this state. And so while he won't brag, I want to make sure that folks know that Florida has really set the blueprint for other states by which to measure their own success and progress. And what that means is we are doing what Florida does best. We're being proactive. Just yesterday, sadly, I watched a sheriff in California talk about their governor and the fact that he will not engage with those sheriffs and give them the laws that they need to be better about cracking down on theft and other things, such as illegal drug use and things that are plaguing the quality of life. And he said leaders, good leaders, are proactive. They stay ahead of these problems and these challenges. So I'm so proud to brag on this governor who did that when he first took office and is doing that again today, along with our legislative leaders, by strengthening that law that we passed when we first got into office and adding to that porch piracy. 44% of Americans have had a package stolen from their porch. Just last year, $8 billion was lost in stolen merchandise from porches. And we've seen the videos of flash mobs where they rush stores, distract the clerks, and they're able to just ransack stores. That will not happen in Florida because we are proactive and we lead. And where in some states like California, where you have a governor who hasn't met with sheriffs in 5 years, this governor probably couldn't tell you how many times he has met with individual sheriffs and their associations to say, what are the tools you need so that we in Florida do not have to be run by criminal organizations? That will not happen here. This governor and Florida also understands that you give them the tools, you give them the laws, and then you make sure you back that up by supporting law enforcement and holding prosecutors accountable to enforce those laws. And we have demonstrated time and time again that we're willing to do that here in Florida. Just last week, we launched with the Florida Sheriff's Association and our chamber the 6 things that we see that other states have gotten it wrong. And one of those was decriminalizing crime, to include retail theft, to legalizing drugs. We're so proud of this state for showing how that will affect the economic prosperity of cities and states, and how when people leave your state because they don't feel safe and secure, you will lose tax revenue. Doesn't take a genius to figure that out. So where California has lost $340 million in tax revenue, New York has lost $300 million in tax revenue, Florida added $12 billion in tax revenue. And let me just go back to how I started. Florida leads. We don't react. We stay ahead of challenges and problems. We work with our great legislative leaders, our sheriffs like Sheriff Snyder, our great retail partners to get the job done. So you may have heard of the term OG. We have the original OG, the original governor, who knows how to lead and be proactive, and that is what a state needs in an executive leader. Heck, that is what our country needs an executive leader. So Governor DeSantis, thank you so much for keeping Florida, Florida, and us safe and strong and secure.
Great. Sheriff?
Good morning. If I could just start off by saying, let me just talk to you as a cop. I know we have electeds, and electeds have to be electeds, but I want to just talk to you as a cop today. Purely and simply, a former street cop from Miami who understands what it takes to keep people safe. First of all, an illustration. These shelves are full. There's not an empty shelf in Martin County unless there's a hurricane coming and everybody runs out and gets toilet paper, which apparently in hurricanes you need more toilet paper. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm trying to. We have a little motto in our county. You all that are from here have seen it. I introduced our Attorney General Moody to that today, and that is hashtag wrong exit. Hashtag wrong exit. We don't coddle criminals here. And the reason I don't have to coddle criminals is in this room. First of all, a governor who gets it, an attorney general who gets it, our state senator Harrell, Representative Toby Oberdorf, and then John Snyder, right, the last name I should have remembered. It takes a team to do what we do. I have to have somebody at my back to make sure that I can do my job. And I'm going to close with this illustration, leave plenty of time for others. Because I said I would talk to you as a cop, Governor, I'll talk to you as one also. When we get new people, and you may have seen when you came in, the young gentlemen all look like bodybuilders in the tight black T-shirts there. They just got hired, and they're here. And from the very beginning of their career, my other son, David Snyder, is here today. He knows this as a law enforcement, former law enforcement. David, what's the one question when the new guy comes on the squad that everybody wants to ask?
Can they hold their own? Can they fight?
Can they hold their own? Can they fight? We also condense that into this question. The new person gets on the squad, Governor, and will say to somebody who knows him, is he okay or is she okay? That's shorthand for, if I get into it, will they be with me? If I go into a bar at 2 o'clock in the morning to break up a fight, will they be with me? And if the answer is yes, I'm good to go. I know backups are coming. If I hear the unit with Governor DeSantis is heading my way, I'm good to go. And so I'm going to close with this today, as we've worked so hard in Martin County and we've had the backing of our electeds here today. I want to say this. If you ask me the question, is Governor DeSantis, is Attorney General Moody okay? I would say unequivocally, without even any forethought, yes, he's okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Hello and good morning. My name is Carlos Gonzalez with Walgreens. And on behalf of Walgreens and the 763 stores, team members in this great state of Florida, we would like to thank Governor DeSantis and Attorney General Moody for being here today for this important bill signing and their leadership in the fight against organized retail crime. I have worked for Walgreens for the past 25 years, and in asset protection and in major crimes, I help prioritize the safety and security of our team members, our communities, and our customers, help investigate high-level investigations, work closely with many different retailers, law enforcement, and prosecutors, and assist in case development, help foster relationships with public-private partnerships to address and mitigate major crime trends. I have personally helped investigate over 75 cases in the past 4 years here in Florida alone, of which 67 people have been arrested, and we have recovered over $3.4 million in product recovery during those investigations. One clear thing when it comes to organized retail crime, it is not simple shoplifting, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about sophisticated criminal networks that are organized and are educated in our laws. A criminal network that uses profits from organized retail crime to fund even more serious crimes such as terrorism, drugs, and even human trafficking. We have seen ORC activity rise across the nation. But lately, subjects are becoming more and more brazen and violent, not only towards our customers, but towards our team members that are innocent and are standing in their way. That is why it is important for us in asset protection to work closely with law enforcement to build cases and catch these criminal enterprises. But it is also equally important for us to actually send a strong message with laws such as this, that in our great state of Florida, we will not tolerate this type of activity. So thank you, Governor DeSantis. Thank you, Attorney General Moody, for your leadership and for being here today.
All right, you were just watching a press conference of Governor Ron DeSantis, joined by Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody and Martin County Sheriff Snyder there, of course, announcing right there at a Walgreens in Stuart a bill that was just signed into law today, increasing penalties on retail theft, cracking down here on what they're calling porch piracy, those people who take those packages off of your porch once you've ordered something from, say, Amazon or something like that. So right now we're talking about a second-degree felony. Also, if people use social media to solicit those crimes and what's being called the organized theft rings that we've seen play out across the country here. So again, we just heard from that rep from Walgreens. This was part of 5 different criminal justice bills that the governor just received from the legislature on Monday. So we should see more come from those set of bills that were just sent to him as well. We'll have a full wrap up ahead at noon. Our Caleb Califano is live at that press conference getting any other information that comes from this. Again, the latest at noon. We'll see you then.